what's standing between us, the people today, the people who live in our culture, and the real experience that we were designed to have? What are we lacking? What's wrong with us? Something is obviously wrong with us. If you look at the news, you'll see the things that are happening in the world and the things that we choose to announce that are happening in the world. We could announce all kinds of things. Obviously, these are the things that interest people. And so we will right away realize that something is very wrong with us. We're not healthy. But what's the disease? Who can diagnose the disease so that we can know what we're suffering from? What's our ailment? Where are we lacking? What are we doing wrong? And so there's a lot of different explanations. There's a lot of ways of going at it to try to describe, because it's happening in so many dimensions. At the core of it, our heart is a little bit misaligned, but in the result, there are discrepancies in all dimensions. And so everywhere we look, we'll find the discrepancy in the psychological, in the biological, in the function of the organs. Everything is a little bit off. But why is it all off? It comes back to one root, one source. And so we know that whatever went wrong in the Bria, something went wrong in the Bria. But whatever it was that went wrong in the Bria, in creation, it happened in the Das. That's the Mokum of the Pgam. The Das was Nivgam. The Das was somehow compromised. And from this compromise resulted all the curses that we are experiencing. All the curses of humanity that cause us to be unsettled, not properly emotionally regulated, too easy to go off and to attack and to hurt others. What's really wrong at the root is in the Das. That's where the disease resides. And this Das has been continuing within humanity generation through generation. And because it's still the original Das that's been given over generation to generation, we still suffer from that same disease. We never got a new Das. We never wiped the Das clean of whatever it was that it misunderstood originally. And the misunderstanding relates to the relationship between the source that creates and what has been created. What has been created became conscious within Adam Rishon. And what has been created needed to understand its relationship with who was the creator. And there, in this relationship, this is where, from within creation, the Das that woke up within creation misunderstood the relationship between creator and creation. And from that misunderstanding, we still suffer today. And so this is what is necessary. If we want to heal the world, what is necessary? An adjustment in the Das. That's all that's necessary. Everything else is perfectly in order. Everything else reacts exactly as it needs to, when it needs to. The only thing that needs to be adjusted is the Das. And so therefore it says that after the Geula, Imala ha'aretz deyas Hashem. The Das is going to be upgraded to a das that knows Hashem, unlike the das that we've had since the Eitz HaDas that doesn't know Hashem. Doesn't understand the appropriate relationship between creator and creation. And so within this relationship that resides in the das is all the instructions that we are giving to the soul of how to treat us, how to give us life. Within this understanding of the relationship between creator and creation, we are also giving instruction to the soul of how to treat everything that we are and everything that we want. And so when the das went off, it wasn't just, okay, now man thinks wrong. It's not just that man thinks wrong. The whole world thinks wrong. Man is connecting the wrong wires, and therefore all of creation is messing around. And so now for man to come back to where he was before he fell, to come back to Gan Eden, is to heal this relationship, is to understand appropriately the relationship between creator and creation, and specifically between creator and the human soul. In order to gain this understanding, in order to have the appropriate das, we need to grow in order to be able to comprehend the tremendous truth, a truth that is much bigger than our wildest imagination. The relationship between creator and creation is much more intimate than anything we could possibly imagine. We've never seen anything like it. Even if we had the deepest romantic relationship and we were completely lost in love, it doesn't give us any taste of the relationship between creator and creation, because the relationship between creator and creation is what sustains all the energy to create the entire universe. That's a lot of energy. Nobody's experienced that type of commitment ever in their life, that's for sure. And so in order for creation to be able to improve their das so that they can go back to the truth, they need to develop, they need to have a method of being able to grow their capabilities, to be able to develop their organs. They need to develop the brain, they need to sensitize the heart. It requires an avodah. It requires preparation. And this is because the truth is so tremendous, the truth is so powerful, that if we got a glimpse of it in our current nervous system, it would immediately collapse. It cannot contain that level of energy. It cannot relate to how things really are. If it did, it would be so motivated, it would be motivated out of existence. And so, gradually, we learn, we discover the infinite light that's been hidden within the words. Why are they hidden within the words? They're not hidden within the words, they're hidden within your brain. The words are going to polish your brain. You need a brain to get a vessel for the light. If the brain cannot comprehend, then what kind of light can it shine? What type of motivation can it create? What type of inspiration can come forth if it hasn't been developed? If it cannot comprehend deeply the situation at hand? And so the powers that we have access to are infinite in their force. They can do things that we can never imagine. With this very power that we have, the power of speech, humans have changed not only the course of history, but the behavior of nature. With human speech, the same that you and I use. This power is a tremendous power. It's an infinite power. It's a power that creates. It's creating right now. It's creating vessels for a light that's beyond anything that we can ever speak or think or feel. It's giving form to the spirit so that the spirit can know that it's here, because when there is no form, the spirit goes back to its source and then it doesn't feel like a spirit. There's no individual there. If there's no form, you are not an individual. And therefore, we're not allowed to worship any form. We worship the formless, from where we come from. The formless is home. And then we have the capacity to create form. Speech is the capacity to create form for the spirit, to create vessels for the spirit, for the light of life itself, to motivate it, to guide it, to give it direction, to give it meaning. We're forming the vessels for the light. And the light is always shining, and the light will always shine. And give it the words, and it will shine something else. Life will form. And so to comprehend the magnitude of what we're interacting with, we need tremendous development. And this is the world of reality. When we speak and we know that we are creating vessels for light, then we're getting closer to speaking. When we spoke and we didn't know what we're doing, then we weren't really speaking. We were mimicking speech. The mimicking of speech is the root of all exile. Because when we mimic speech, the heart is not really where the speech is. It's not really representing a human spirit. It's representing a thought. It's representing an idea. It's not representing a human heart. And so if we know the magnitude of what we're dealing with, then we can try to be faithful to the way it should be used. If we don't know, how can we possibly? And so here we're in the Baal Shem Tov Omed Atfila Ois Peites, and it says, Yachshev sho'elem adiber medaber boy, v'ze lo say ef shel edaber, k'mo shenemar adinoi sfosai tiftach. You're speaking. Speech is older than you. Speaking is you. It's not that you're speaking, you're being used by speech. Speech has taken a hold of you, and it's using you to manifest itself. Speech is a world, speech is a power, speech is a spiritual power. I'm now interacting with that spiritual power, and through me it's manifesting. It's telling us about itself. Yachshev sho'olam adibur medaber boy. It's not a human that came up with speech. Speech came up with humans. Speech was there to create the world in order for there to be humans. And then speech came into the humans. Speech was the creator of the humans. This is the son of speech. The original speech made me. His son is speaking through me. And so when he's davening, he should realize that the world of speech is talking through him. Like the pasuk says, Adonai sefasai tiftach. My master opened my lips. meaning use me to say words, to manifest something that the world needs. וגם כמחשבתו, אי אפשר להיות כמו ידי עולם המחשבה. When we're thinking, we're going into a world. That world is not our world. That world belongs to the collective. That world was there before we came into it. And we play around over there. We have our thoughts and we write down our little notes. And then they stay in the world of thought. They're always there. They're entities, they're angels. They're sparks of spirit. And so, if not for the world of thought, we cannot think. The world of thought allows us access to it. So it says, V'hu k'shoifar. A person is like a horn, is like a shofar. He's not the one that's blowing. He's the one that's being blown. The light is shining through him, the life is shining through him, and as it's going through him, it's taking on form, it's creating a sound, like in the shofar. It's going through the shofar, therefore there's a special sound that this shofar makes that's unique to this shofar. Whatever the air blows through him, that's what comes through the shofar. If the one who is blowing stops blowing, the shofar doesn't do anything. The shofar is just a shofar. A human being is a shofar. The Borer Olam is blowing in him. Chaim. He is blowing in him. That's why the shofar is making noise. כך בהדר יחז ושלום כוחי יסברך שמי ממנו, אין יוכל לדבר ולחשוב. If these forces of the Creator remove themselves, so we're going to force speech to work for us, we're going to figure out how to speak ourselves, we'll take a pen and paper and crunch through it. If we don't have access to the power, we don't have it. Nothing we could do about it either. It's not ours. It's not our essence that is speech. It's his essence that is speech. We're a unit that gained access to this extremely powerful function. And we can use it to type into reality our opinions, our beliefs, our convictions. And that gets created, that creates the angels, and then they remember forever. They never forget what was. They have to remember what was in order to know what comes later. Can you calculate what tomorrow will be without calculating yesterday and the day before and the day before that? Your body is keeping the track of everything that's taking place. Everything is being written down. Otherwise, how would you know how to be tomorrow? And so the worlds give us access, and in those worlds, we express ourselves. And then we have those expressions. Not only we have it, all of humanity has it, the whole collective has it, the whole universe has it. It happens, it's real. It's part of everything. This is from the Baal Shem Tov. Ois Tzadik. יחשב אדם בדיבור, שאוילם הדיבור מדבר בו, אוילם גודל כזה, שבו נבראו כל העולמות, כדאיסא בעיברם, שהוא בהי מועצת הפה. You should think that when he's speaking, the world of speech is speaking in him, like we said, and he said, such a big, powerful world, that with this world was created the heavens and the earth. So what is he doing over here? What is he trying to accomplish by telling us this? He's trying to upgrade our perception because the reality is out of reach. The reality is of a magnitude that we can't contain. And so, in order to make our imagination grasp a little taste of what it is we're dealing with, we're going to compare things in order to show us the size. And so he says, when you're speaking, this is the exact same force that created heaven and earth that you're using. And so by doing that, we're coming a little bit closer to reality. Reality we're not going to grasp. The magnitude of speech, we're not going to grasp. But can we get a little bit closer so we take it a little bit more seriously? Can we do that every day? Then we eventually are going to know how to be faithful to our soul. Because if we're not going to take the things that are important to our soul seriously, then we're never going to get close to it. We're never going to really know what it wanted before it's too late. And so what's important to the soul is our desires, our thoughts, our speech, our emotions. This is soul language. This is the internal world that we're experiencing. The things we have outside of us, the soul doesn't understand to those things. It wants to exist. It says, do whatever it takes. You gotta eat, eat. You gotta sleep, sleep. Do whatever it takes to survive. The rest of the time you devote to me. I'm the soul. I'm the reason why you exist. I live inside of you and then I leave with you. The one you know now is the one you're going to know later. You're going to know that it was someone you didn't think it was. But you're going to know that this was the one that you were with the entire time. He was there and you guys were having a conversation about life. Suddenly the one you've been having a conversation with is going to rise up and show you that he's something else entirely than you thought. He's a very important member of the society. Up there, he's a big macher. As soon as we leave the body, everybody knows who he is. Oh, the angels, everybody has respect. In here, they forget who he is. They treat him like he's just someone else. And so, when we start taking it more seriously, that's when it becomes more real. That's when we gain access to the original plan. And so when we realize that all the worlds were created with this force that we were given to play with, and still all the worlds are created with this force, because everything that happens in the world, everything that's been happening in the world for the last 2,000 years has been directed by this force, which is speech. All the rules, all the enforcements, all the rewards, all the recognition, all the announcements, all the teachings, all the education, all the traditions, all the culture, where does it live? It all lives in the words. And so with this force, this is what we're playing with. It's live fire, it's the real thing. It forms the world. You'll think about the pride of the Creator, that all the life force of all the worlds is through speech, including us. When are we motivated and inspired? When we hear the right speech. When are we discouraged and in despair? When we hear the wrong speech. All the worlds get life from speech, all kinds of speech. All the stars are speaking. Their frequencies, their rays, it's all speech. The light of the sun is speech. Every form of light is speech. Every form of emotion is speech. Every form of feeling is speech. Everything speaks. This is the koach hadibur. This is the highest of all the worlds. The brain speaks to the heart speaks to the liver, the brain speaks to the liver, the kidney speaks to the liver and to the heart and to the brain. Everything is speaking to everything. They all get their instructions, they all get their life through dibur. And this is the force that we have at our tongue. It's easier to move than our hands. It's right there and it just goes. And it's the most powerful tool in the world. The brain has access to the spiritual realms. It's extremely powerful. But the speech is what manifests and runs the physical world. It's not just in the world of spirit. The body, the purpose of the body is to manifest to the physical. The speech is the manager of that world. שכל חייס הלומס ובדיבור, והוא עולם הירא, וכביכול השכינה מצמצמת את עצמה ושרי בדבירה בפיו, כדי שבספר יציר כבן בפה, that this power that represents the divine force is following my intention and my desire and allowing itself to manifest with me and through me. And so it's the greatest of forces, and yet it's bowing to my will. This is the relationship between creator and creation. This is the intimacy. This is what Adam Rishon didn't remember. Therefore he got distant, therefore he became afraid. He was alone, he had nothing to be afraid of. We have each other and ourselves to be afraid of. And yet we have to get back to a place where we're not afraid of each other and ourselves. We have to reconcile the relationship between creator and creation. We have to repair the das. As unlikely as it might seem, there is going to be a generation that has to do it, and every generation that passes, it becomes only harder. It's more distant from the original das, more fragmented, more confused. So the Shekhinah is mitzamtzem her koyach and rests within his mouth in order for him to be able to manifest this spiritual force and create vessels for the light, for the infinite light that gives form to the spirit. And so the world of thought is literally the heavens. In the world of thought, we're literally swimming within the heavens. The heavens is all the stars. All the stars represent concepts that we can think. If the stars didn't speak that content, we would never be able to think it. And so when we're thinking, we're navigating amongst the stars. That's why it says about Shmuel, the Amoira, that he was Baki b'shvila d'nerkia, k'shvila d'nardoi. He knew the pathways of the heavens as well as he knew the pathways of the city where he lived in. He knew it like a map, because the brain is the map. The brain is created by all of them together. And so when we navigate in the brain, we're activating stars. We're activating pathways of the heavens in order to receive light from the infinite source. And then those pathways light up also in the real world, and they send their influence onto the planet. This can also be bad for us. We can also invite the wrong stars to play over here. And then we have what we have today, a lot of trouble. Wars, aggression, people arguing, people being impatient and restless. This is because there's an imbalance in the stars. There's an imbalance in the type of angels we're inviting to the planet. The Das is the one that's directing the show. That's why when the Das is fragmented, of course you're going to invite the wrong angels and the wrong things are going to happen. When the Das is fragmented, that's when evil can manifest. Evil means humanity is inviting the wrong angels to the planet. Humanity is losing balance. And so the world of thought is literally the heavens. He gave us access to all the heavens. The more we grow and develop, the more access we have, the more deeply we can affect them, the more deeply we can help humanity, we can help the divine plan, the universal plan. Beyond thought, we have access to forms of life that we can't even comprehend, because they're the ones that are giving us the power to have access to the world of thought. And so those are called Oros Metzuchzoches, meaning that when you experience that part of yourself, you're definitely not thinking. You're blinded by the light of what you are, that you forget everything that you ever thought. You never want to be busy with that ever again. Those are called Oros Metzuchzoches. Because thought is already a clothing for the soul, and in thought, she can already turn against herself. In the Oros Metzuchzoches, she could never turn against herself. There's no chance. There's nothing there that could turn against anyone. So he should feel embarrassed that he has access to this stuff. Like, seriously? Did they know who I am? Did they look at my resume before they gave permission for this? He should feel the seriousness of what's taking place. He should experience it as it's happening, because then he will grow. This will allow him to grow into it. It's not going to make him feel bad. It's going to make him feel very good, this embarrassment, because he already is what he is. He's not going to lose that. Adarabah, now he knows it. But he also knows that, whoa, I've really been abusing my privileges here, haven't I? I could be doing better. I could be being more of what I was meant to be. And so then we start repairing the das. That's when we start growing the vessels for a healthier das. And through that, we gain access to the original plan. The original plan justifies the actual results. So if we see an investment, we know that a smart investor wouldn't invest this much energy unless the results justify the investment. And so something is going to change in the das that's suddenly going to justify the entire investment. Everything that's already been invested is going to be very justified. Also for the individual, and even more so for the collective. And the collective has invested quite a bit. And so this is up to us. Whenever we return to the real das, that's when the repair will happen. Whenever we heal the das, then it's going to be Umala Oretz Deis Hashem. And that's going to be by the final redemption. May it happen soon. All right.
I have a question.
Sure.
Because you mentioned that the Das has been in exile this whole time. And we once learned that our Har Sinai, the Zuama from the Nachash had left us. So
Exactly.
Out of the curse of Eden.
That's
was
right.
the original Das back with us for a short amount of time at that period?
40 days.
So we had the Das of this Das for 40 days.
Yeah.
And was there any individual sage from the last 2,000-3,000 years that had the same Das in them while they were in the Galus, not at Har Sinai?
They say about the Baal Shem Tov that his soul was from the ones that ran away before the Chet of Adam Rishon. And so when he looked at evil, he didn't see it as evil. In him, every form of evil raised compassion, because he just saw the disease. He wasn't under, if you're in the Das of Tov Ra, then you see Ra as evil, because it's your problem, it's your adversary. But if you never ate from the tree, so then you just see, oh, the guy has an infection. And so this is how the Baal Shem Tov saw it, and that's the healthy Das. Amen.
That's why he was able to heal people, because he understood what the problem was.
Of course. All he had to do was compare them to himself. And wherever they were different, that's where they needed an adjustment. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So,
Thank you, Father.
Das also information or just a perspective?
Das is an experiential knowledge. It means that from everything that you collect in information, you translate that somehow to an emotional truth. And so in that place where it meets, and that's where you are seeing it on your screen come through, that's when it becomes Das. So two people will know the same information, but their Das of how they process that information could be totally different. One of them can faint, and the other one will be laughing. So it's because of how the Das process the information. Information itself is not Das.
So it's a perspective also.
It's experiential. It's the Das when it becomes an experience. It's the information as you experience it. That's what it is.
So how did information make us lose that?
Because when you experience it, that's when you write it into your body. So once they thought about something wrong and they gave their body those instructions, so then their body started moving forward in that Das. And then they never knew how to undo that damage. They became scared because they thought that they're something they're not. And then they never learned how to turn that off, that way of thinking. And that became ingrained. That became the base of all their thinking. Is like, how do we protect ourselves? Because we're in big trouble. Because there's something that's coming. And really what it was there was not enough intelligence to realize the real situation. And so from this, we still didn't heal. We're still under this mindset. And when a child comes into the world, we infect him with this mindset by our behavior.
Rabbi, based on what you said, and I probably only understood, let's say 20% of it, but based on what you said, you talked about the power that we have with tefillah and its essence and where it comes from. Do you have any practical suggestions for when one is davening? And they're saying the words that we say them over and over again. Sometimes it becomes kind of by rote.
Right. Well, when I speak about speech, like the main point that we're trying to make is that whenever you are saying anything, you're interacting with that world. The reason we do prayer separately is because we know that people cannot keep their awareness for the whole day. And so we say, let's at least pretend that reality is real for a little amount of time in the day. Like let's remember that it could be so that what you say matters. But the truth is, whenever you say something, you're programming yourself and you're programming the collective. You can never stop this feature. There's no way to turn it off.
No, but a way to connect closer when you are praying.
So when you are praying,
Tefillah to go higher.
What you want to do is engage the heart. And the more you're going to feel emotion in what you're saying, the more you're going to be alive in the words that you're saying, the more those words are entering your soul and actually making a difference. Because your way into the collective is your own soul. You cannot tell the collective what to do. you become something, and that's telling the collective something. And so if you felt compassion when you said something, then you told the collective compassion. If you just said the words of compassion, you didn't really say compassion.
So you got to feel it. You gotta
Yes, yes.
And then you'll feel the response.
And then something changes in your soul. Then comes the next part, whatever it might be. But only through actually being there do we move it, not by just thinking and saying.
Is there ever the ability to feel kind of a conversation?
There's always a conversation. But the more you're going to be real with that conversation, the more you're going to realize that it's a conversation. There's always a conversation because you're constantly interacting with your intelligence and becoming more intelligent. You're always asking it questions and it's always giving you answers. And that's the conversation. It's just how serious is the conversation depends on your training.
Is this why with like King David, he was like, Ani la tefillah, he's like, I am a tefillah, basically.
Exactly.
Which means the thoughts that we're having, the compassions we're having, the tefillah for gula, for healing, for wellness, and shalom and oneg, he was experiencing all day through his brain.
Yes.
He's like, so I'm in tefillah already, that's what he means to say.
Yes. Yes. He was a prayer. His entire existence was, please God, let this be. He was full of desire. He was all desire, but his main work was actually against the enemies. So he had his hands were filled with blood because he saw that whatever needed to be couldn't be unless first we have to make a space for it. And so he made a space and Shlomo filled that space. And that was the most successful attempt.
And so, one more thing, I wanted to ask a question a little bit or see if it's the same thing. So we once read with Rabbi Nachman that he says that just like if you take a piece of metal and you move it rapidly, it creates heat in the metal. So he's saying the same thing with your thoughts. If you engage in strong thought for extended period of time, it creates heats in the constellations.
Yeah.
Cause shefa to come down through your
Yeah.
moving.
Of course.
This is part of the whole same thing you're saying.
Yeah. In the prophets, they would be obsessed with this concept. And this is eventually what happens to all big people, is that the beauty of the wisdom, the beauty of the truth becomes so intriguing to them that they become completely obsessed by it. And it takes over their entire life. They don't care about anything else anymore. And then eventually, by the time they're ready to leave their body, they get a kiss from their beloved, meaning she reveals a little bit more to them than the body can handle. And then, whoops, they just slip out because they're clinging towards something that they've been in love with for so long already.
This is what we learned last week in the Chassidus with Nadav and Abihu.
Yes.
Everyone thinks that they were Rishayim, this and there's a medrash that says they were walking behind Moshe and Aaron, and they said one of these two is going to die. Everyone thinks they're meant to say, when are we going to be in power?
Right.
Really, they were wondering when Moshe and Aaron's going to poof because they got too high.
I see what you're saying.
What happened to them is because, and Moshe says they're greater tzaddikim than him. Like Moshe saying that they were greater. And so their death really came from this poof that we read, like we're just
Now that says there, Mrs.
too
Nashika.
high.
Yeah.
So they did their action to try to connect to this world, like stay down here, but they couldn't hold on anymore.
Yeah.